Today we're going to be going over probably the toughest thing with digital marketing, in my opinion. Google Ads is a pretty big animal to cover, and it's really tough, and it can kind of get you in a lot of trouble with spending a lot of money for little result if you're not doing it, doing it right. So today, that's why I wanted to help, fence and deck owners if they're running Google Ads, give them some ideas of ways to improve the campaigns and get lower cost per leads and, really grow, just better optimized campaigns to get better results for their company. So we're going to be going through a lot of stuff, but these are kind of the main points here. So I want to explain why pay-per-click with Google Ads leads to unlimited scalability for lead flow for your fencing or decking business, and how you can achieve that. And then also we're going to be talking about how to structure your campaigns to really optimize them properly and get a lowest cost per lead possible, and just a higher return on your investment. We'll also be talking about more specifics like the KPIs you should be tracking, landing pages, campaign structure, and all kinds of stuff like that. Okay, so who am I, and why should you listen to me? So I'm Alex Stanner, and I'm the founder of Fence and Deck Marketers, also the Fence and Deck Mastery podcast. So with both, the whole initiative is really to provide a lot of free value to the fencing and decking industries. So the whole team really spends a lot of time, just generating free content that will help fencing and decking owners. We are part of the AFA and NADRA too. So really trying to be involved more and more in those industries. And I was actually just talking to Mike Beaudry yesterday from NADRA, and we're going to be doing some stuff with him as well. So, that's really what we try to do, and that's why we do these webinars. We want to provide something that's specific for these industries, not very generic, but something that'll really help be, something that will actually lead to results. Okay, so if you're curious, Fence and Deck Marketers, we only work with fencing and decking business owners. We do all digital marketing services, websites, Google Ads, Facebook ads, SEO, social media. So our whole team, our whole initiative is just working with fencing and decking. So all the things we implement and stuff I'll be talking to you about today, is very specific to these niches. Okay, so the marketing system that we use is called the omnipresence marketing system. So we want to be able to have your fencing or decking business seen everywhere. So not just one place, but you want people to, and wherever they go, they're seeing your business. So the more people see you, the more they get comfortable with it, the more likely they'll actually work with you. So the first principle is maximize opportunities. So to to grow your business, you got to get as many people in through the door as possible. So you got to get as many opportunities. That's what we're going to be talking about with Google Ads. This is one way to get more opportunities, is through Google Ads, but there's plenty of different ways to do it. SEO, Facebook ads, Google ads, local services ads, social media. There's all kinds of different ways, but of course, today we're going to be focusing on Google Ads. If you're curious about some of these other ones, we do have other webinars as well. So you can use Google Ads for number 2 as well. So brand impressions, you want people to be seeing your brand as often as possible. The advertising rule of 7, people need to see your business 7 times before they do, business with you. Now they say it's a lot more than that. As many as they say, like triple. So since we're always scrolling, we're always, have Instagram out or Facebook out, there's a lot of ads that are thrown our way. So you have to have a lot of brand impressions to get the leads that you want. And then maximizing conversion. So we're going to be touching on this a little bit. So we're going to go through the whole life cycle of Google Ads, from setting up the ads, what the landing pages should look like, really everything. So we're going to show you how to convert people that come to the ads to your landing pages and see your ads. So we'll be going through that as well. Okay, so I want this to be interactive as much as possible, and I want to kind of hear from anybody that's listening. So I'm just curious, with pay-per-click, because I see a lot of mixed results, people that think, maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's not. Just curious, do you think, put a 1 in the comments if you think that it's a good idea and it's something that you need to be using, and put a 2 in the comments if you're not sure, or maybe you're just don't think it's something that you need, and you can rely on other sources. Maggie one. Okay, so we'll have to make a believer out of Mark. But in general, it does depend on the size of your business. If you're smaller and you don't really care about growing too much, maybe SEO is enough for you. But if you're growing, you really want to, if you're doing multi-million a year or even 1 million a year, it's something that you really should consider. Because as you grow and as you need to hire crews, you don't want to have to worry about keeping them busy. So you got to have, these tools to keep the lead flow coming, keep the engine rolling. And this is a great way to do that. So, all right. So here's some of the reasons why I think it should be part of your marketing strategy. The great part about it is it shows up quickly. So if you know about SEO, you know that it takes much longer, 6 to 9 months. It could take more than that. If you don't have a website, you don't have a Google listing, it's going to take a very long time. But basically with Google Ads, you can set them up quickly, turn them on, and start generating leads. That's kind of, I would say, the biggest plus of it all. But Google will take your money. They're very good at that. They're very good at making money. So if you don't have it set up properly, you can waste money nonstop. And I would say if I talk to fence and deck owners, anybody that's used Google Ads, it's very rare that they say that they, got good results. That most of the time they're saying they tried it, didn't work, they hated it, they wasted money. And that will happen if you don't do it properly. So that's why I wanted to do with this webinar, show you how to do it properly. But with Google Ads, you can show up as often as possible. So depending on your budget, you can really show up a ton. And since most people go to Google, so 87% of people go to Google when they need some kind of service provider, that's where they're going to be going. So you can use Google Ads to, basically show up, actually show up there. And then with SEO, it's also got limitations. So you're not going to rank, 20 plus miles away from your business with SEO, unless you're in the middle of nowhere. But with Google Ads, you can show up in much further away areas. So, it's common for us to hear 40, 50 miles is kind of the radius for fencing and decking. So if you're only using SEO, that's 20, 40, 30 miles, whatever, that you're unaccounted for. So if somebody types in, fence company in Baltimore and you're in Columbia, if you know Baltimore well, or maybe you're in DC, let's say that, you're just not going to rank there with SEO, but you can use Google Ads to rank in these areas. And kind of what I touched on earlier, the limited scalability. So for the most part, you can scale Google Ads indefinitely. Ideally, you have a populated area that you do work in. If you have a huge service area in a major city, it's pretty unlimited, and you kind of scale any way you want. If you're in a smaller area, it might be a little bit more limited, but as long as you're willing to travel farther away, you're not super strict on staying extremely close to your business, then it can be very, very scalable. Okay, so I'm going to tell you why pay-per-click campaigns do fail. First things first, and this would be for agencies or, if you're trying to do it internally, if the owner or somebody internally is trying to do it, just understanding the auction process, like how to bid on keywords properly, and also understanding the fencing and decking industry and the keywords related to it. Not having a good understanding of that can really lead to failure quick. And then ad groups. So we're going to talk about kind of this process. If you're wondering what an ad group is, we'll explain it more. But you want to have more than one ad group for all your services. And then the text ads, so the ads that you're actually running on Google, they need to be specific and they need to match the landing pages for the keywords that you're trying to rank for. So it all needs to be combined in one system. And then also the call to action. You need to have some kind of offer, something that really makes you stand out and gets them to click and reach out to you. So we're going to talk about some call to actions here too. Okay, so this is the number one thing I would say people, or why pay-per-click campaigns fail. You don't want to send your website or your ads, your pay-per-click ads, to the homepage of the website. You don't even want to send it to the website, period. You want to have landing pages that are specific to the keywords you're trying to rank for. So that way, whatever they type in, you have an ad that matches it and then a landing page that matches it. So whatever they want, you should be able to show it to them. So as an example, if you run it to the homepage, this is very, very common. It's going to confuse them. So, if they're looking for fence repair and say maybe you're a fence and deck company and they get to the homepage and it's just talking about fencing and decking services about the business, more than likely it's just not going to be what they're looking for. But if you send them to a landing page that's talking about fence repair, and all the specifics behind that, it's more likely it's going to match what they want, and they're going to be like, yes, this is what I want. Let me contact these guys. So please, please, please don't send it to the homepage. Okay, so now I'm going to talk to you kind of how to structure the pay-per-click campaigns so you get as low as possible, lowest possible cost per lead, and make as much money off it as possible. There's different types of campaigns. So you may have heard of this, like a smart campaign where it's basically what Google created to just get people to sign up for Google Ads and have a very low barrier to entry, so they can just set it up and start working, and it sounds great, but it's something that will definitely lead to bad results. You don't want to use smart campaigns. They're not going to work as good as they say. So you kind of have to do it the long way if you want to do it properly. Okay, so when you're structuring your pay-per-click campaigns, you absolutely have to, well, these are what I'm going to be going through in a little bit more detail. So I'll just kind of go through them real quick, but you have to be using conversion tracking. So making sure you know what exactly, properly tracking the pay-per-click ads, basically. There's a way to do it. I'll explain it here in a second. Also the ad groups, I talked about that. We'll explain that here in a second. And then the different match types, so the keyword match types, broad match, phrase match, exact match. You got to make sure you know that and make sure you're using the right ones. And also negative keywords. So making sure that you're adding these, which I'll talk about here in a second. And compelling text, make sure that text resonates with the customer, it matches what they're looking for. Ad extensions, I'll go through that here in a second too. And then the landing pages. I'll keep talking about this. It's so important, so I'll just keep mentioning it, and then I'll show you some examples here in a second. And then also ongoing split testing. So you never want to set it and forget it. You want to keep testing things, tweaking it, and fine-tuning it. All right, so one sec. Just letting somebody in. Okay, so conversion tracking cannot be understated. So if you are running pay-per-click ads, you need to have proper conversion tracking in place. Google Ads doesn't require it. They have all kinds of ways to just run an ad without properly monitoring it. So you have to be using this. We use a tool called What Converts that uses different phone numbers for Google Ads. You can also use CallRail or Go High Level. These are other possible tools. And these are kind of the essentials of it. So basically with Google Ads, when you use conversion tracking, you're going to have a landing page, and this is going to be with, this is how I use it for What Converts. So they'll be able to, if you use What Converts, it'll be able to tell if if a lead comes from Google Ads or from SEO. So they'll be able to say, okay, we know they clicked Google Ads. Let's show them this separate phone number that's completely different, but that forwards to your main number. So that's important because then you're going to know, even if somebody types in that number on their phone, if they click on an ad and they're like, oh yeah, let's call these guys, this sounds good. They type in the phone number. If that's your main number, then it's just going to be looped in with all the other leads. So with these different having a different number, it allows it so whether they click to call like from their phone or they type it in after they see it on their computer, it's a different number, so it'll be registered as that. And you can also send that data back to Google. And of course, you can know that you're getting a real conversion, not just something that could be, I guess, not something that could be SEO or Google Ads. So with that same concept, so with What Converts, CallRail, and High Level, you can also do web form tracking. So some people want to call, some people want to fill out a form. You can do that. Excuse me. You can do that with a contact form as well, and that'll mean whether they give you a call or they fill out a form, you'll have it properly tracked. Okay, so when you have that built into the AdWords campaign, that's how you're going to feel comfortable about the results that you're getting. Because if you don't have this perfectly dialed in, it could be very misleading. You just have no idea what's actually a lead. You could have numbers that look really good, but it's not actually telling the whole story. So you got to make sure you're doing that using some software like this. Okay, so these are the KPIs you need to be tracking. So when you're running Google Ads, of course, your total spend, you need to know how much you're actually spending. And also with also basically trying to figure out, how much you need to spend is always a common question I hear. So Google Ads are expensive. They're the most expensive way to get leads. They do work, but they are expensive. So with that, when people ask me how much should I spend on Google Ads, um, you really just need to know the cost per click of your keywords that you want to target to kind of figure that out. So when we run them for deck builders, for example, they can get upwards of $40 per click for top keywords like deck builder near me. So to kind of break it down, let's say you spent $1,000 a month. You're like, that's all I can spend. By that math, if it was $40 every click, you would only get 25 clicks for the whole month. So you'd have to spread 25 clicks over 30 days. Now, that's a recipe for disaster. It's not even worth doing, really, because first off, that's one click a day. So if that click doesn't turn into a conversion, you're really just ads turn off, and then you have to wait. But if you did, let's say, I guess if you did all right. So say you wanted to get a lead a day. So if that was kind of what you're looking for, by that math, you say about $200 to get one conversion every single day. That would mean that if you were converting at 20%, so say you needed 5 clicks to get one conversion and it was $40 a click, that would be $200. So if you're spending $200 a day, that would be $6,000 a month. So that's would be kind of where you need to be to get that many leads. There are options to turn it off mid-month. So if you hit that budget, say you wanted 5,000, you could say, all right, turn it off once I hit my 5,000 a month budget. And that's a good way to get the leads you need without, while sticking to a budget. But that's kind of how it looks. If you are spending 40 on average per click, in general, 20% conversion is very good. So you're looking at like 6,000 to get a lead every day. If you don't need a lead every day, you can certainly go for less. I would say ideally, what I would always recommend is having like a minimum of like, you could say a minimum of 3,000, but even there, it's kind of not the best. So, I would say 4,000 is kind of our minimum. We try to get 5,000 for fencing and decking to get the best results. Fencing is cheaper than decking, so you can get more from that. You could probably go, 3 to 4 for fencing as a minimum, and then I would recommend around 5 for decking. But then the landing page conversion rate is kind of the next piece. We're going to keep talking about this, and I'm going to show you some different ways to do that. But it's so important because, as an example, say you start off Google Ads and you start running them, and you're converting at like 10%. So you're paying 10%, or you're converting at 10%. So if you kind of work on that and optimize your landing page, get that to 20%, you're then going to be paying, half the price of a lead. So it's really important to kind of tweak that. You have to know what you're doing, but if you continuously tweak that and get better results, that's going to be half the cost of the lead. So you want to always be messing around with that. And again, I'll show you some best practice for that here in a second. Okay. The average cost per lead, you have to be tracking that too. If you don't have the phone number tracking that we were talking about last slide, it's going to be very hard to do that. So make sure you're doing that. And also the return on investment. So if you're using HubSpot or Service Titan, Job Nimbus, you can track the whole life cycle of the lead from where it came from all the way to if it converted, so you know that return you're getting. So you can make sure the leads you're getting are legit. They're not just a bunch of tire kickers or whatever the case may be. So that's kind of the best case scenario for that. Okay, so I'm just curious. Put a one in the chat if you're actively running Google Ads right now, and put a two in there if you're not. Joanna one, Brian one. All right, Maggie one. Okay, so I kind of figured if you were joining this webinar, you were already running them, so that's good. I'm hoping this is helping so far, but we're kind of just getting into it. We got a lot of other good stuff coming. So with your pay-per-click campaigns, you know, the setup is, if you're running them now, you probably know this, but you have campaigns, then ad groups, and then your ads. And then you have the keywords that you bid on those ads. So you got to make sure you're using the right keywords to target, because people will type in all kinds of stuff related to a fencing or decking service. You know, some are going to be keywords that you know are going to convert, and then others could just be, you know, top of funnel, meaning like, you know, they're just looking for information about which deck to install, or, you know, if they should go composite or wood, or, you know, vinyl or metal, or aluminum chain link fence, whatever the case may be. It's kind of a information seeking part. So you want to have, a common mistake is you have a campaign with one ad group and you kind of throw all the keywords into one ad group. That can lead to a lot of problems. Instead, you want to be separating that out by specific keywords that you're typing in. So, you know, fence company or fence contractor, fence estimates, fence installation. If you have different fence types, wood fence, chain link, vinyl, same thing with decking, you know, composite or wood. You can have different ad groups for that. And then the important reason to do this is because these keywords have different search volumes overall. So vinyl fence, wood fence, it's searched like 110,000 times every month. So a lot of people are typing that in. Privacy fences, that's like, I think 91,000. Fence companies near me, it's like 200,000. So you want to account for these different keywords and make sure that you have ad groups for them, and make sure they're linked to ads that actually talk about what they're looking for. Also, you have the fencing modifiers. So these are very common, what people will type in to find what they're looking for. You know, local fence builder, local deck contractor near me, fence company, Baltimore, Maryland, you know, deck company in Dallas, Texas. So you got to account for those different fencing modifiers too, because those are what a lot of people type in, because they want something that's close to them, you know, close to where they work. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the different keyword match types. So there's three different types. So, and actually this is supposed to be an X over this, sorry. This is no longer used by Google. I guess I forgot to put the X over top of this. Sorry about that. But anyways, there's broad match, phrase match, and exact match. This is taken out by Google here. So with broad match, that's going to be the most general. That's basically if you type in fence company, you know, you can get all kinds of stuff. Or maybe type in fencing company. I mean, then you'll get a lot of things, you know, fencing the sport, fencing supply stores, you know, fencing companies in a completely different area that you do work in, you know, fencing companies in Texas, but you're in California. Also, Google now can even associate that with gates. So if it's kind of closely related in their eyes, they will rank you for that. So as you can imagine, it could really get out of hand quick. For the most part, we stay away from this. We focus more on phrase match. But if you are really good at negative keywords, which I'll talk about in a second, you can do the broad match strategy too. But with phrase match, this is probably the most common. So if you type in fence company into Google, Google used to say, if you did fence company as phrase match, it would only show text before or after fence company. So fence company near me or fence company in Baltimore, those would be ranked for phrase match. But now Google, to make more money for themselves, as I said, they're really good at that. They will rank things if they seem that they're similar. So fence company could be shown, if you use fence company as your phrase match, it could be shown under fence replacement, or even vinyl fence replacement, or fence contractor. So they see it as close enough, like let's show it, let's, you know, rank for that. It used to be easier the old way, but they've gotten more and more tough. They removed the broad match, modified broad match, which also kind of made it easier. So over time, we've had to adapt our strategy to kind of account for this difference. Okay, so we did broad match, phrase match, exact match. Exact match we haven't covered. So exact match used to be, if they enter that exact term. So if you said Baltimore Fence Company would only show for that. Now they have a little bit more variation of it. So, if you use Fence Company for exact match, it could show for Fence Company near me or Fence Companies. It would really just be terms that are very closely related. So Baltimore Fence Company would also rank for, Fence Company in Baltimore. And the real key with all of the pay-per-click campaigns is you have to be crazy about negative keywords. So if you're not adding negative keywords, you're pretty much guaranteed to struggle. So negative keywords, if you're not sure, that's just basically how you tell Google you don't want your ad to show if you include one of these keywords. So it should be a pretty long list. You can see here, these are some common ones. If people are looking for jobs with a fence company, maybe they type in careers, fence company careers, a truck for fencing, fencing association, fence supply stores, fence material distributors. There's all kinds of different things that people could type in that if they click on your ad, it's not going to relate, and then you're just going to be wasting money. So you want to be doing this extremely often, multiple times a week, going in there and seeing, what keywords you can add as negatives. Make sure you add competitors as a negative keyword. That's where you kind of get in trouble with the phrase match, because if you do fence company, there could be ABC Fence Company. There's, probably most fence companies have fence company in their name, which is a good idea for SEO. Side note there. But you want to really look at who your competitors are, add them as negatives, and then continuously look at it and see if there's anything else that pops up that you didn't want to show for, basically. All right. Okay, so to talk about the ads, like the actual text ads, less is more. You don't need to get too crazy with that. You have limited characters that you can add to an ad, so you gotta be strategic with that. But you want to present an offer. You want to make it simple. It doesn't need to be too complicated, but you want to tell them exactly what you want them to do in the ad. So if you want them to call, you want them to request a free estimate. Specify that in the text ads. Send them to a landing page that's going to allow that. If you can offer a special offer, that's a great idea. So if you're a deck company, we've run this a lot, 2,000 off a new deck. Fencing, same kind of thing. Offer a dollar value that's actually significant. That's going to draw their attention, get them to click as well. And then, give them one decision. So if you want them to call, web form, push for that on the website in the text ad. You don't want to give them too many options and make them overthink it. Okay, so here's just a couple example ads. So first one here, deck builder in Baltimore. So it's very specific. If you're running this ad for Baltimore, they type that in, they're going to be like, okay, I need a deck builder and I'm in Baltimore. So perfect. You have the ad extensions here and a couple other things that I'm going to be talking about here in a little bit. But think about the exact area you want to go after and put that in the ad, that specific area. Also, if you want specifically installs, not repairs, that's something you can specify there to not get bad clicks. But these are just a couple, different examples you can use. Okay, so with the ads section, so where you can show up in Google for ads, there's a couple different places you can do. So first one is going to be the text ad. This is the most common. This shows up at the top of Google below the local services ads. And that's probably what everyone's seen for the most part. So you can see the text ad, but there's also other ways you can show up for ads, including the map pack. So when you're typing in fence company near me and that map pack shows 3 Google listings, it has the reviews and all that. You can show up there using ad extensions, which I'll talk about here in a second. And then you can also just show up in Google Maps too. So when you do it like this, you're showing up at the top, and it's really exciting for the map pack because 45% of people go to the map pack. So if you're showing there, you got a good chance to get a lead there. Okay, so the extensions I was talking about earlier, here's some of them. So the call out extension, these are just basically little highlights that you can use in the ad. Local family owned contractor. You could say how many years you've been in business, things like that. And then the site links. So these are going to be links to your actual, you can use these to go to different landing pages if you want. If you have a wood fence, a vinyl fence page, you can do that. You don't want to send them to the website, the actual website of the business, the main website, but you can use site links to kind of figure out what they want, get them to click it, and then point them to the right type of page. The call extension, very easy to use. This is just another number that'll show up on the ad. So if they want to call you, they can just click the call just like that. And then you'll have a separate phone tracking number, and it'll actually be a different number than, if you're doing it right, it should be different than the main number on your landing page too. So you'll be able to specify like, okay, this came from the call extension versus the landing page number. So these are some really important ones you should be adding to your ads. And if you're curious, these are kind of what it looks like. These are the different extensions that you can see here. So the site links, call outs, call extensions, location extensions. You can use the review extensions. There's a couple in here that you don't really need. So you can see like price extension, messaging extensions. So those are more for like e-commerce stores. It's not really for fencing and decking. So no real reason to use those. Okay, so I wanted to give you an example of a landing page we created that I think is a really good starting point for if you're not using landing pages or if you just want to optimize them. So as I said, we spent a ton of time coming up with better landing pages. So these are kind of some of the things I would look for and things to do. So as you can see, you can't click out of here. You can't go to the main website. This is just one page, and they have to click to reach out here. So or just close out of the page. But we're running these for a very specific area. So it's in Southwest Washington. We found it does better than if you do, all of Washington or West Coast or something. You want to be as specific as possible. The locations used for the ads should match this. So that way it makes sense. You see that, big phone number, that's blinking. No matter where you scroll, that's always showing. You have the free estimate button, which is also a call link. So if you look on mobile, it's going to also be shown, and it's kind of right near your thumb. And having some different highlights like this, if you have a lifetime workmanship warranty, which this company does, virtual or in-person estimates that are free, financing available, 0% interest, no payments for 12 months. These are things that could be something the person's really looking for. So you want to give something that sounds really good and, basically matches kind of what they want most. Reviews. So absolutely should have reviews. If you're not collecting Google reviews or Facebook reviews, you really need to do that. So we have a little link there or sorry, not a link, but just a little icon that shows that. Some badges. So if you have an A+ rating with Better Business Bureau, they're certified elite for decorators. They're part of the master builders. And then you'll see some text here that kind of talks about the company a little bit. A contact form, you give them that other option besides the number. More testimonials. So these are real, actual testimonials. You can use a widget to do this. So those work really, really well. And then they can see, if they have a bunch of reviews, kind of how that looks. Including a why choose us type section. This can be just expanding on where you had, at the top here, but just why they should choose you. You have nice big text, virtual estimates, warranties, the experience, quality materials, affordable pricing, all that stuff. Nice looking fence as well. So talking about the company is a excellent idea, something you really need to do. People get a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling when they, see who they're working with. So when they click on an ad, all kinds of thoughts go through their head, like it could be a scam or something like that. So here, kind of telling the story of the business, seeing that it's a real team, real trucks, branded uniforms, that kind of thing. It tells a story. And letting them know what exact types of fences they do is a good idea. So vinyl fence, ornamental, cedar, any type of fencing you do, have a separate page for that. And then um, kind of letting them know what the process looks like. So if they're like, okay, I'm ready to go, what am I getting myself in for? Kind of go through the steps, reaching out, evaluation, quotes, pick the materials, the design, timeline, and get ready to rock and roll. So it gives them an idea of that. Service areas. So if you only want to go in certain counties, specify that on the landing page so you get better leads. Some nice images of jobs that they've done. Here's another kind of why choose us, more testimonials, and then the contact information. So that's really it. There's not a ton of content on here. You don't need to have a ton of content. People are really just looking for the short things that will kind of get the point across. They don't want to read paragraphs of text usually. So this is how we've gotten, this is an example of what we've done that's worked really well. So if you're kind of curious or not, need to update your landing pages, this is certainly one way to do it. Okay, so, and I'm curious, so everyone that's running Google Ads, put a 1 in the chat if you're using landing pages, put a 2 if you're sending it to the website, the main website. So 1 in the chat if you're using landing pages, 2 in the chat if you're running it to the website. Maggie said, I don't know. Okay. Really not doing Google Ads. Yeah. Okay, so Heber is going to the website. Maggie, if you're not sure, I'm not sure if you're using a company or if you're doing it internally or however you're doing it, but you should be able to search it. I mean, you would get charged for it. Ideally, you talk to whoever's managing it and really find out. But if you're not sure, or maybe if you're working with a company that doesn't show you, that's one way you could check it out. Just kind of search. I'm not sure if you're fencing or decking, but deck builder near me, fence contractor near me, that should pop up and you can see. You definitely want to make sure it's not going to the website. Heber, I hope I'm saying that right. Yeah, same thing. So the landing pages, however you're doing it, I would definitely recommend, looking into what converts and looking into building a landing page for that specifically, and it'll definitely help you out and get better results. Okay. Okay, so this is kind of what we went through so far, or today basically. You really, really need to use conversion tracking. If you're not using it, ask if you're using a marketing company. If they're not using it, quite honestly, if they're not using it, getting them to use it, it's probably, I don't know, it'll probably cause some issues. So working with someone that uses it or figuring it out yourself, what convert support's awesome. So you can talk with them. That's who I'd recommend. But I'd recommend getting that really dialed in because with the tracking, so I look at a lot of Google Ads campaigns, and the first thing I always can tell or I hear is, we got good cost per leads. I go in there and I look at the cost per leads and it's like $20 or $30. And immediately I'm like, okay, so all kinds of stuff is wrong. I know what it costs to, get a cost per lead, and it's going to be more than that. So likely what's happening is they're just not tracking the right conversion. So they're tracking like they could just be clicking or tracking if they clicked on the website page or if they clicked on like the call now button. More than likely it's something, the former. They're just tracking something that's irrelevant, and it's leading to better results than it really is. But also with conversion tracking, you can tell if it was you can say, hey, I only want to call it a conversion if they talk for 30 seconds. So if somebody clicks call, they type it in and then they hang up after 15 seconds, it's not going to be called a lead. So those things are what you really help you figure out what exactly you need to be doing, um, or what exactly the results you're actually getting. The ad groups. So that's another thing. If you're savvy with it, you can log into the Google Ads campaign. Just click on campaigns and then ad groups, and then just see what's there. Click on it. If it's just one and they're, have all these keywords that are not that closely related, that's a problem. That's going to cause you issues. And the match types. So make sure you can view the keywords in Google Ads. If you're comfortable doing it, go in there and just see if it's phrase match, it'll have the quotes on it. If it's broad match, it'll have nothing around it, and then it's exact match, it'll be those square brackets. So you can see what kind of keywords you're using. Make sure you're not using a whole bunch of broad. Make sure that negative keywords are being used too. And a little bit more advanced, but this is a great way to tell if you are using somebody, what they're doing, if they're doing it properly. If you go into Google Ads and look at the history, I think it's called change history. So if you go into Google Ads, on the left-hand column, you should see a button for change history. You click on that, you'll be able to see what changes have been made to the campaigns. So if you see that nothing's been made, they're not adding negative keywords, they're not updating the ads, then that was basically they just set it and forget it, and they're not getting results. So that's really, really important. With Google Ads, you need to continuously be adding things, and that's one way you can kind of figure out if anything's actually happening, because there's no real way to hide that. Also, the text ads. So make sure those are typed up properly. They match, your business. They're compelling. They kind of excite people. They're, what they're looking for. Ad extensions, always use those. And then the landing page, just nonstop. Check that out. And I'll have this recording on YouTube. And so if you want to kind of see the landing page and go through it a little bit more, you're welcome to. That way if you want to make your own, you can kind of go based off of that. And then this is, again, the split testing, tweaking, try different landing pages, try different ad text, try different keywords, see what works. Don't just say, okay, let me try these two keywords and then just sit there and, let it run. You want to do it continuously. That's how you're going to get the best results. So again, the change history, that'll tell you if anything's being done. Go in there and look at it. If you're using a company or however, if that's, would make sense for you, you're welcome to do that too. Okay, so I'm curious. So everything that we had, this is all the stuff we use for clients to get our ads optimized to bring in leads for clients. I'm just curious, what did you learn or, take away? Anything that you noticed that kind of stuck out that maybe you're not doing that you should be doing, that maybe you need to fix, or even confirmation that you're doing something right? Just kind of curious what you took away from it. Check and change history. Nice. Yep. Yep. Negative keyword use. Yep. That'll be a killer. I mean, for sure. Heber, landing page. Yep. 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 Do you mind, curious to see how long everyone's been doing Google Ads? Anyone that's listening. Mark, lots of stuff. Thank you. Great webinar. Brian, you've been doing it for 3 years. Are you doing it in-house, Brian? Or are you guys doing it yourself? Third party? Okay. Yeah. I would definitely check on that negative keyword, the change history, just to kind of see. Because I would say 95% of the time when we look at it, or when I look at it, something's not being done. The conversions aren't being done right, the constant updates. And I've seen this with generalist agencies, and I've also seen it with like direct competitors, surprisingly. So that It's very, very common, and it's so hard to understand that you really, you really, I mean, when you go in there, that's why I wanted to give you a list of like easy things to kind of see. If they're making changes, that's a good thing. The next step would be to make sure they're making the right changes, but that's, a little bit more in depth. But you at least want to know something's being done. If they're going to the main website, if they're not making updates consistently, something's guaranteed to not be as optimized as well as it should be. So okay. Yeah, so if you guys are if you do want to talk marketing, this is all we do. This is all I do is fencing and decking, as I said. So if you guys are curious, you want to talk, you can reach out to our website, deckfencemarketers.com. That's my email. You can email me directly. That's the phone number. So if you just have questions, not salesy at all. So if you just want a couple questions, I'm happy to just answer anything about your campaigns and help out any way I can. So if there's anything specific you're curious about, I'm happy to talk with you about it and see if there's any way I can help. So feel free to reach out those ways. And if you want some like easy content, so every single day we post something about some way to help your marketing. So if you want to go and follow social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, we basically will have free stuff on there. We have a podcast, the Fence and Deck Mastery podcast. So you're welcome to check that out too. And yeah, it's just free content. Like I said, it's no strings attached, anything like that, but you're welcome to reach out. So yep, that's kind of it. And if you have any questions, just please let me know, reach out, and happy to answer them. But thanks everyone for taking their time to listen to this webinar and go through all this with me. And we'll see you. I'll see you on the next one, and we'll send you an email for the next one.